Hello again. This is Mr. Sexton, and this video is going to discuss the exams that we will have this semester. We're going to be taking a look at things like what type of exams we're going to have, the policies for those exams, how many points each exam will be worth, and some suggestions that I provide for you in being successful in taking your exams this semester. So please listen to this video, watch this video, take any notes over any questions you might have, and make sure you ask those questions because when we take a look at the exams that you have this semester will make up approximately 45% of your total grade. So make sure you're asking any questions that you might have. The exams that you will have this semester will first of all be taken using the Moodle exam module. And that module is the same exact module that you use to take your quizzes, the textbook quizzes that you take during the semester. So you will be taking 4 exams this semester. All 4 of those exams will include multiple choice, matching, true, false, short answer, or short essay type questions. Each of those exams will be taken in class, will be proctored by your high school teacher, and you will have 45 minutes to complete the in class portion of those exams. Now, when you take a look at your exams, there'll actually be 2 parts to them. There will be the in class portion, which are going to be the multiple choice matching short answer type questions. And then there is going to be the take home portion of the exam, which I call short answer or short essay. Those questions on your exam will be completed at home by you, and the time that it takes for you to complete that will not count towards those 45 minutes. Those exams that you take at home, or the portion of the exam you take at home, you can do, you know, the night before the exam, or you can do it several days before the exam. You can do it when you would like. But the thing to understand, the take home portion or the essay portion of the exam will have to be turned in by the time you complete your in class portion of the exam. You'll have more detailed directions on this, on exactly when each exam is due and exactly when the essay questions are due when we get to the point for exam 1, and there'll be directions and such online. Let's take a look at the point distribution for exams this semester and the other policies dealing with exams. You will have 4 exams this semester. You will have 3 regular exams, and then you will have a final exam. Of the first 3 exams, you will be allowed to drop the lowest of those first 3 exams. Everybody will take the final exam, except for in the situation that I explained to you here in a few minutes. So, if you take all 3 exams and you score an A on each of your first 3 exams, then you don't have to take the final exam. If you take all 3 exams and all 3 exams are not A's, then you will have to take the final exam. That score will be kept, and we will drop the lowest of your first 3 exams. Okay? Now, when we're deciding whether or not you need to take the final exam or not, in order to be exempt from the final exam, you have to score an A, which means a 90% or better on each of the first 3 exams. If you score an 89 on one of the exams, that is not an A. I am not going to round those up to an A. You have to score at least a 90%. Now, if something happens where you miss one of the first 3 exams, something happens, then that exam that you miss will be the exam score that we drop. If you miss one of your first 3 exams, then you have to take the final exam. The only time that will exempt anybody from the final exam is if they take all 3 exams and they get A's on all 3 of those exams. Okay? Now, if something comes up where you have a school activity, you have something else that is an excused absence, you let me know about this before the exam time and we will make arrangements, okay? under almost no circumstances will I allow you to make up an exam if you come to me after the exam is over to say, hey, I forgot to tell you, but. Okay? The only time I'm going to allow makeups on missed exams is when there is a verifiable, documentable emergency that I warrant as having enough importance to have missed the exam. Which means is, hey, I had a doctor's appointment without a doctor's note, can't help you. I was sick, so I couldn't come to school, can't help you. Okay? Oh, those types of things, I can't verify them, then I cannot give you a makeup. If you have a situation that is something that you know is going to happen ahead of time, come let me know ahead of time. We will make arrangements for it. Okay? So, no makeup exams unless it's a verifiable, documentable, excused absence. Now, in addition, on your exams, the final exam will be scheduled for a fixed time, and that time will be determined between me and your high school instructor. Same exact thing. If you have an issue with the final exam where you're going to be out of town for something, and again, it's a verifiable excuse for not being in school, then we will make arrangements. But with all of your exams, make sure you're talking to me before the exam, if possible. Now, should you miss one of the first 3 exams for whatever reason and you're not able to take it, I still encourage you to contact me and say, hey, Mr. Sexton, I would like to take this exam, but understand you will be taking the exam for no points. And some people will say, well, why would I take the exam if I'm not getting any points for it? Our final exam in this course is a comprehensive final exam. So if you miss one of the 3 exams that we have, then you're not knowing whether or not you have a grasp on the material. So what I will do is if you miss an exam and I'm not allowing you to make it up for points, I will still allow you, if you make arrangements with me, to take the exam so that you will have an opportunity to see the material, see the types of questions I ask over that material, and to gauge whether or not you have an understanding of that material. Again, make sure you're communicating with me as much as possible before you miss any exam. Okay, some discussion about how to prepare for my exams. If you will notice in Chapter 1 on the Moodle site, I give you a file that explains to you the topics and learning objectives for Chapter 1. That gives you a general idea of the type of information that I would like you to glean out of your textbook reading. Now, in addition to those learning objectives, you are also going to have a quiz over Chapter 1 and each chapter that we cover this semester. Okay? So, when studying for the in-class portion of the exam, it's going to be heavily impacted by your textbook readings. So make sure you're going through that list of learning objectives and general topics for the chapter, and make sure you're focusing in on that. If there is material that I talk about on the chapter quiz, make sure you're taking a look at that material. Now, I am not promising you that there will not be information from the textbook that's not covered in the quiz and not specifically listed in the learning outcomes. But what I'm saying is if you've got a grasp on the type of material, the type of information that's being discussed in the chapter learning objectives, and you follow the type of material and type of questions that are in those chapter quizzes, you're going to do okay. To make sure that you are reading that chapter from beginning to end. I always suggest also that you go to the back of the textbook and you look at the highlighted words and the vocabulary. And don't just study the definition of the word, but read those words that are in boldface print and understand the concept, understand the types of examples and the types of information that the textbook author provides for you in relation to that topic. Because those highlighted words or those vocabulary words from the textbook will not be tested just simply by you being able to give me a definition. There are going to be times when you will be asked to understand a concept related to those terms as it's discussed in the textbook. Now, in addition to the information that you're going to have to glean out of the textbook, you are also going to have weekly videos that you'll need to watch. Now, these videos are going to cover specific parts of information dealing with the chapter. It may be a topic that is directly related or discussed in the textbook chapter, or it may be something that I feel is related to the textbook chapter or the topic of the chapter that I want to add to. Okay? Those videos that you'll need to watch are fair game for multiple choice matching type questions. Okay? So make sure you're taking notes when you're watching the video. But the really big thing that I'm going to take from those videos is essay questions. Essay questions are going to come almost entirely from the class discussion videos that I present to you. Because in those class discussion videos, I'm going to present you concepts that I think are pertinent, important, or relevant to what the chapter topic is, but maybe I'm going to go into a little bit more detail than the chapter's author does. So, the textbook itself, that chapter that you're going to read, is going to be where you're going to find most of the questions for the in-class multiple choice matching true, false, short answer questions. And then your essay questions are going to come primarily, almost entirely, from the class lecture videos that you will have to watch each week. Okay, just a couple of last things about exams. When we look at the short answer or the essay questions that you'll need to be completing at home, I need you to understand that these essays or these short answers that you give have to be your own words. You need to understand what the concept of plagiarism is. You need to understand what I explain in the academic honesty agreement, what I will not accept, what I do not consider to be legitimate forms of collegiate writing. You also need to understand that I'm going to expect a certain format, a certain style when you write these essay questions. There is a file on the Moodle site in the general course information block entitled Writing Expectations for Mr. Sexton's PS 103 class. You need to make sure that you are following those writing expectations. You also need to make sure you read the directions for your essay questions very closely. I will specifically tell you things like, according to the class discussion and the court cases that we discussed in class, answer this question. So if you answer that question perfectly, but you don't relate it back to any of the court cases or any of the concepts that we talked about in the class discussion videos, you are not appropriately answering the question and you're going to lose points. If you don't follow the format that I explained in the directions and or in the writing expectations document, you're going to lose points. Okay? Make sure that you're clear on what I expect of you before you turn any assignment in. Okay? The final thing I wanted to make you aware of is that you will be given several days at the least to prepare for and write your essay questions for this class. There is a university office known as the Writing Center. There are individuals in that center that will review your writing, and they will give you suggestions. They will talk to you about the contact and content and the structure and all of those types of things, okay? They're not going to tell you whether or not your statements about the filibuster are correct, or whether or not your explanation of the process of how a bill becomes a law is accurate, because these guys aren't political scientists. These guys are people who have some experience in grading and writing papers. So you can submit any paper that you write to the Writing Center online. It has to be done in enough time for them to review it and get it back to you, but it is a tool that you can use to ensure that you're taking every step possible to make sure the document, the assignment that you turn in, meets at least the minimum expectations that I have of you as a collegiate writer. The final thing I'm going to say is something that I've said repeatedly through the introductory videos. Communicate, communicate, communicate. If you have any questions about when an assignment is due, what the expectations are, whether or not you have to do it in MLA or some specific format, if the directions do not directly address that and you've got questions about it, send me an email. Give me a call. Let's make sure that we're dealing with questions before you turn an assignment in rather than after it is. Okay? Good luck. And as I said in the previous video, I am so excited about the opportunities to work with you this semester, and each one of you have the ability, or you wouldn't be in this class, to be successful at this. Give me a call, and good luck.